Okay, welcome in. I'm a little behind on my hockey, so I do apologize. I know I did attempt to make this video, I think it was on Wednesday, but I kept falling asleep, so I had to keep deleting the video. So I had a full night's rest, so I'll see if I can actually get through this without zoning out again. So Tuesday, there were a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games on tap, so this video might take a few minutes. Starting in Montreal, as the Canadiens played host to the New York Islanders. The big headline coming into this one was Patrick Laine was making his regular season debut for the Montreal Canadiens after he suffered the injury in the preseason, and behold, he would get the game's first goal and his first goal as a member of the Montreal Canadiens since being traded in the offseason with the Blue Jackets. So he would get a power play goal from Lane Hudson and Nick Suzuki, 7:23 of the second period. Oh, I clicked on the wrong date. Here we go. Scroll this way. Still in the second with 1:05 to go, Anders Lee would tie the game up, getting his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Wallstrom and Dobson. So the game was tied up at 1. There was no scoring in the third. We would need overtime to settle this one, and the captain, Nick Suzuki, would get the game-winning goal, his 10th of the season, from Matheson and Caulfield, 2:39 of the overtime frames. The Montreal Canadiens won. Woohoo! Hopefully they can keep this momentum going into their next matchup. An original six matchup took place in Boston as the Bruins played host to the Detroit Red Wings. In the first period, Lucas Raymond would kick things off, getting his 8th goal of the season from Edmondson, 7:31 of the first. Nikita Zadorov would tie the game up at 1, getting his 2nd goal of the season from Marchand, 9:15 of the first period. There was no scoring in the second. We have to jump ahead to the third. Early in the third, Lucas Raymond would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 9th of the season from Rasmussen and Edmondson, 1:19 into the third. Justin Brazeau would tie the game up at 2, getting his 6th goal of the season on the power play from Lowry and Frederick, 9:32 of the third period. We would need overtime to settle this one, and I did that again. I got to stop scrolling on the date. Wrong game. Bear with me here. This is the one-taker for sure. Pavel Zacha would get the game-winning goal, his 6th of the year from Pasternak, 2:15 into the overtime frame. So the Bruins would win 3-2. The Buffalo Sabres played host to the Colorado Avalanche. Now, this was a crazy game, and I'll get into that in just a second. In the first period, Tage Thompson would open up the scoring, getting his 12th goal of the year from Clifton and Tuck, 3:22 of the first. He would then score again his 2nd goal of the game, his 13th of the season from Zucker and Byram, 6:39 of the first period, putting the Sabres up 2-0. Just 11 seconds after that, J.J. Peterka would score, increasing the lead to 3-0, getting his 8th goal of the year from Benson and Cousins, 6:50 of the first. And still in the first period, Beck Malenstein would increase the lead to 4-0, getting his 2nd goal of the season from Abu Kobel, I believe, 11:49 of the first period. So in the first 12 minutes of the game, the Sabres had a 4-0 lead. Now, this is where the crazy part comes in. Nathan MacKinnon would strike early in the second, getting his 8th goal of the season, unassisted, 2:24 of the second, cutting the lead to 4-1. Joel Kiviranta would cut the lead in half in the third, getting his 5th of the season from Christian Johann and Logan O'Connor, 1:19 into the third. Logan O'Connor would make it 4-3, getting his 3rd goal of the year, assisted by Sam Girard, 4:30 of the third, making things very interesting, cutting the lead to 4-3. And big surprise, the guy who started the scoring off, Nathan MacKinnon, will get his 2nd goal of the game, his 9th of the year from Rantanen and Tays, 7:39 of the third period. So the Avs managed to come back, being down 4-0 to tie the game up at 4. And then Arturi Lehkonen, God, I like that. I miss him so much. Every time he scores, it keeps reminding me of how good he was when he was with the Habs. He would get the game-winning goal, his 5th of the year from Dehan and MacKinnon, 15:38 of the third period. So the Avalanche were down 4-0, and they would win 5-4 in regulation. So the Sabres didn't even escape with a point. That's got to be heartbreaking. All right, the Pittsburgh Penguins played host to the Florida Panthers. Owen Pickering would get his 1st goal of the season. It might have been his 1st goal of his career, and if it was, congratulations, assisted by Lizotte, 9:20 of the first period. Evgeny Malkin would make it 2-0, getting his 6th of the season from Tomasio and Drew O'Connor, 10:32 of the first, increasing the lead to 2-0. Matthew Tkachuk would put the Panthers on the board, getting his 6th of the year from Barkov and Kulikov, 17-24 of the first period. Chris Letang would make it 3-1 in the second, getting his 4th of the year from Grizzlejic and Lizotte, 6:54 of the middle frame. Marcus Pettersson would increase the lead to 4-1 in the third, getting his 2nd of the season from Crosby and Raquel, 3:45 into the third. So the Penguins had a 4-1 lead at that point. Sam Bennett would cut the lead in half, getting his 13th of the year from Boqvist and Tkachuk, 6:55 of the third. And Adam Boqvist would get his 2nd of the season from Tkachuk and his brother, Jesper Boqvist, I believe, or something like that. The Boqvist brothers, 8:58 of the third, cutting the lead to 4-3. And Matthew Tkachuk, who got the first Panthers goal, would tie it up 11:27 in the third period, getting his 7th of the season on the power play, assisted by Ekblad. The game would need overtime, and luckily the Penguins didn't blow it. They actually got the game-winning goal, courtesy of Brian Rust, his 8th of the year, assisted by Evgeny Malkin, a minute 31 into the overtime period. So it just goes to show, especially nowadays, it doesn't matter if you have a 3-goal lead, 4-goal lead, you could have a 5-goal lead. Nothing is ever safe because teams do obviously come back and potentially win. Okay, the Washington Capitals played host to the San Jose Sharks. In the first period, with exactly a minute to go on the clock, Tyler Toffoli would get his 10th goal of the season, unassisted, making it 1-0 in favor of San Jose. In the second period, Nick Dowd would tie the game up, getting his 7th of the year from Berhagiri and Miroshenko, 13:02 of the second. And the game would be settled in overtime. William Eklund would get the game-winning goal for the Sharks, getting his 5th of the year on the power play from Granlund and Celebrini, just 39 seconds into the overtime frame. All right, the Carolina Hurricanes played host to the Seattle Kraken. In the first period, Jaden Schwartz would kick things off for the Kraken, getting his 6th goal of the season from Gord and Matt Beniers just 19 seconds into the game. So the folks just sat down, and the Kraken had an early 1-0 lead. Eric Robinson would tie the game up in the first, getting his 7th of the year, assisted by Nietzsche's 4:56 of the opening period. In the second, Eli Tolvanen would give the Kraken a 2-1 lead, getting his 7th goal of the year from Bjorkstrand and Dunn, 5:56 of the middle frame. In the third, Martin Nietzsche would score, getting his 13th of the season, a power play goal from Sebastian Aho and Shane Gothisberg, 5:43 of the third, tying the game up at 2. Yanni Gourde would put the Kraken back on top, getting his 4th of the year from Schwartz and Beniers. That would be his 4th of the year, I just said, from Schwartz and Beniers. I just repeated myself, I apologize, 10:48 of the third. And then Brandon Tanev would double up on the lead, getting his 6th of the year from Winterton and Montour, 15:03 of the third period. So the Kraken would win in Carolina 4-2. The Minnesota Wild, who have been hot lately, took on the Vancouver Canucks. In the first period, Quinn Hughes would open up the scoring for Vancouver, getting his 6th of the year, a power play goal from Pettersson and Garland, 8:37 of the opening frame. In the second, Frederic Gaudreau would tie the game up at 1, getting his 5th goal of the year from Foligno and Faber, 7:56 of the second. Late in the second, Jake DeBrusk would give the Canucks a 2-1 lead, getting his 11th of the year from Pettersson and Soucy. That goal happened with just 42 seconds to go in the frame. In the third, Jake Middleton would tie the game up at 2, unassisted. That would be his 5th goal of the year, a minute 43 into the third frame. We would need overtime to settle this one, and the home team left happy, as Kirill Kaprizov would score with just 24 seconds to go in the period, his 16th of the season, assisted by Rossi. So the Wild would win 3-2 in overtime. All right, the Winnipeg Jets played host to the St. Louis Blues. Jordan Kyrou would score in the second, getting his 8th of the year from Shen and Broberg, 18:04 of the second frame. Less than 40 seconds after that, I believe, 39 seconds after that, Dylan Holloway would put the Blues up 2-0, getting his 8th of the year from Rob Thomas and Perunovich. In the third period, Jordan Kyrou would score, getting his 9th of the year from Holloway and Perunovich, 6:38 of the third, giving the Blues a 3-1 lead. Mark Scheifele would finally get the Jets on the board with 4 minutes and 15 seconds to go. That'd be his 13th of the year from Pionk and Morrissey, cutting the lead to 3-1. They would pull their goalie, unfortunately. It did not pan out as Robert Thomas, not the singer, would get his third goal of the season, an empty netter from Faxa and Sad, and that goal happened with 3 minutes and 39 seconds to go. So the Blues would go into Winnipeg and get a huge 4-1 win. So I'm pretty sure these teams played not too long ago. I'm pretty sure it was almost like a home and home. The Flames played host to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and obviously, if you're a fan of hockey, you know all about the tragedy of Johnny Gaudreau in the offseason. So they had a little ceremony, a little thing for him, and it was obviously touching going up against his two teams that he played for in the National Hockey League. I'm pretty sure the Blue Jackets did this for their home game against the Flames as well. So a very touching thing for both organizations. There was no scoring in the first. Rasmus Andersson would kick things off in the second, getting his sixth goal of the year, a power play goal from Backlund and Kadri, 10-14 of the middle frame. Kevin Ball would get his first goal of the year for the Flames. His come on the power play from Uyghur and Huberdeau, 17:53 of the third. They were up 2-0 at that point. The Blue Jackets would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, they couldn't even score, as Yegor Sharangovich would get the empty netter, getting his sixth of the year from Backlund and Coleman. And that goal happened with 20 seconds to go in the games. The Flames would shut out the Blue Jackets 3-0. And the last game from the Vegas Golden Knights, and the last game happened between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. There's no point in scrolling left or right, just the one goal to report, as Ivan Barbashev would score in the first, getting his 13th goal of the season, unassisted, 10:47 of the first. Aiden Hill would get another shutout, and this was a big victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, that's going to take care of Tuesday's recap from the National Hockey League. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.